stick this in a bigger one yet.
Okay, this will call the meeting to order. Tonight, before we do the roll call, just let you know that our lawyer, Rebecca's not gonna be here. And Cindy had a medical excuse, and Karen wasn't gonna be here, so we should have enough to have a forum if it can post any voting. Okay, roll call.
Mike Petulli,
Here.
Melissa Wendy,
Here.
Alan Chase,
Here.
Samantha Tyson. Here. We got Cindy is absent and Karen is absent.
Like before, do we want to do the public hearing first? And then do the minutes?
That works for me.
Okay.
Yeah, they really don't know.
Do we have a motion to open the public hearing? Do you want to do Twin Techs first?
Motion to open the public hearing for Twin Tech.
I'll second.
Mike Petulli,
Yes.
Melissa Wendy,
Yes.
Alan Chase,
Yes.
Samantha Tyson.
Yes.
Okay, before we get started on the public hearing, Town of New Haven is the controlling authority in all public hearings and board meetings. We will not relinquish that authority at any time. If you have been recognized as having the floor, you may speak for 3 minutes. No questions will be answered by myself or any other person, as your time belongs to you and it will not be infringed upon. Please remain on topic. Yeah, listen.
I think it was just on the side. Which one will?
Not this one.
Okay. Alright, so we don't have anyone for Twin Tech.
All right, so guess we can close that one, right?
Well,
Nobody here to speak?
yeah. You guys have anything you wanna say, or?
Not really.
No? No, we didn't receive anything from
Okay.
anyone, and no one's here, so.
All right, do we have a motion to close the public hearing on Twin Tech?
Motion to close.
I'll second.
Mike Petulli,
Yes.
Melissa Wendy,
Yes.
Alan Chase,
Yes.
Samantha Tyson.
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to open the one for Samuel, how do you pronounce that?
Malonde?
Malone.
Is that how you say it? Malone, okay, I
Malone,
was
yeah.
not close.
Malone.
Someone make a motion to open the public hearing? What?
So moved, does that work?
Yeah, so moved. We'll go with that.
Okay, so I have a motion open for Melissa, anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Mike Petulli,
Yes.
Melissa Wendy?
Yes.
Alan Chase?
Yes.
Samantha Tyson?
Yeah.
So Linda, wanted to speak on this
Okay. Linda,
one. Oh,
whoops. We'll give it to Linda first,
Oh,
for 3 minutes.
thanks.
we did have a question, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Are we all set or?
Nope, we just gotta do up this public hearing and then we'll go back to your application.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We have to vote on it yet.
Ready?
Okay, Linda.
Okay, the January planning board meeting, the planning board discussed allowing someone to build within 5 feet of their property line. I believe this sets a very bad precedence. There have been other people that have come to this board and they were not allowed to build at this short a distance. One couple actually had an architect draw up plans and then revise these plans, and they were still denied a variance by this board. Mr. Chase suggested that it was up to the neighbors to complain at a public hearing if they didn't like someone building so close to their property. Other board members agreed. Melissa Wendy spoke to the fact that others will hear about this decision and will now be wanting to build so close to their neighbor's property. This could cause a lot of trouble for the town. Mr. Catuli stated that it should be left up to the DEC to decide the town's variance decision was, if the town's variance decision was too close to the shoreline. And Ms. Brasacek said that, this is why you make the referral to other agencies, so they chime in on what their take is on it. It was mentioned that this could be only for waterfront properties, and Ms. Brasacek mentioned that there are other towns in this area that have different requirements between waterfront and other properties, although this doesn't apply to New Haven, as we don't have zoning. We don't have zoning here, so all decisions should be decided by our uniform town rules. Also, I thought that the basic distances from the property lines were dictated by state fire code as well as the New Haven rules. And I said, please include this with the record for the hearing.
Eric and Jennifer?
Yep.
Okay, do you wanna speak on this part, or is that for you?
I think they wanted to talk on their own application.
Okay, gotcha.
Is that what it was?
We did get a couple of letters in. I don't know if they're part of the packet, do I need to read these?
Yeah,
or-
they, cause I had some of you guys all have a, yeah, I think we probably should read it because they submitted for the public hearing, so.
Okay, there was a letter from, Matt. I'm writing in response in support of public hearing for Sam Patel. I own a seasonal camp at 42 West Shore Oaks Drive. Although I am not Sam's immediate neighbor, I'm only 2 properties away. I am aware of Sam's request for a 5-foot setback from the property line to build. I believe that is in line with the multiple properties in our neighborhood and reasonably given this property layout. Sam has been a very good neighbor, and I encourage the planning board to approve his request. I would be at the planning board meeting to support Sam's request, but I'm unable due to prior commitments that cannot be changed. And there's another one. My name is David, how do you pronounce that one? Blasia? I am the neighboring property owner, property owner of Sam Liddell. I own the seasonal camp on 46 West Shore Oaks Drive, which is adjacent property to Sam's right away probably. My primary residence is in eastern Pennsylvania, and I work at the nuclear plant. Will have me in Maryland during their public hearing. Please accept this letter as my input for the public hearing. I understand that Sam intends to remove his camp and construct a year-round residence on his property. I have reviewed his plans and talked with Sam about this project. Sam's current camp is 6 foot from the property line, and his storage shed sits partially on my property. I understand that Sam intends to remove both and replace them with a house located 5 feet from the property line. I view this as an improvement over the current situation and in line with other properties in the area. I fully support Sam's plans as stated and welcome you to contact me for further questions. That's it. Anybody else like to speak on that?
Ron, do you have knowledge of the whole fire stuff,
Yeah.
as Linda was stating?
Has nothing to do with fire code, towns set their setbacks, whatever they are. 5 foot, especially at Lake Shore, that Lake Shore needs to be changed. Reduced, and, that's not up to me, it's gonna be up to you guys and the town board.
Okay, do we have a motion to, close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing for Samuel Lavande. Did I say it right?
Alone.
Dang it. No. I almost had it.
And a second,
I'll second.
Mike Julie,
Yes.
Melissa Wendy,
Yes.
Alan Chase,
Yes.
Joanne Tyke.
Yes.
Okay, let's go on to the minutes, previous minutes approval. Everybody had a chance to read those?
Yep.
Yes.
I don't see any changes.
Changes made, add, correct anything?
Well,
Motion to accept the minutes as read, or as, distributed?
I'll second.
Okay, Mike Julie,
Yes.
Melissa Wendy,
Yes.
Alan Chase.
Yes.
Joanne Tyke.
You're gearing up for a record meeting.
I know.
It's not even quarter after yet.
We got a lot to do.
Fight your son.
Somebody said something about an hour's worth of talk on the tree thing.
Hey.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Minutes were approved. Okay, old business. So we've had the, public hearing on, Twin Tech. Where do we go from here? I don't have my lawyer to tell me what I gotta do.
Well, I think we've already done, let me just look back to make sure
We've already,
I'm not mixing up everything too. So at Twin Tech, we accepted as complete, we did the lead agency, we've read part 1, we decided with type 2, accepted the application as complete, we had the public hearing. So all we got left to do then is decide if we want, no, or did you guys wanna do any, basis of consideration for that? I don't know if we had, I mean, they would have already had one prior from their first application.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's even necessary to do that, or,
basically, there was,
We already did it.
there was no really variance on
Yeah.
there, right, correct?
right, yeah,
Right.
so it, yeah, so
All
we
it was is
can,
just opening it for a business.
so we can vote to, approve or disapprove, and they should be all set.
They have something to say.
Yep.
You guys mind just giving us a 1-minute reminder of what we're voting on? I mean, we know what we're voting on, I don't wanna make that sound like we don't know what we're doing, but.
Currently had the business at its current location since 2014, I believe. Doing mostly mobile RV repair and a little bit of minor auto repair in-house, and just looking to move from our current location on County Route 1 over to 21 Levitt Road. With your approval, we'll proceed with the state paperwork to, for a change of address for motor vehicle repair shop and continue on.
Did you say you had a question also, or? No. Okay. Alright, any of you guys have any questions or comments, or someone wanna make a motion?
Motion to approve, as submitted?
Julie?
Yes.
Melissa Wendy?
Yes.
Alan Chase?
Yes.
Joanne Tyke?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys are approved?
Okay, would we be able to get a, letter or document saying that that's,
Yes, yep, you'll get a decision. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll write that up and I'll send it in the mail to you. Or if you want, I can call you and you can pick it up or something.
yeah, that's fine.
Wanna do that?
He's
Yeah.
held up with state DMV, he needs that letter
Mhm.
before DMV will do anything.
Right.
Alright. We
That's
appreciate it.
I'll see if, I might be able to get it done tonight and leave it here, so,
Okay.
if you wanna call Jen tomorrow and see if it's up here.
Sounds great, thank you.
Alright.
Is there any language that DMV's telling you that it needs to say, so you don't submit it and find out it's wrong? Sometimes they'll tell you that it has to, you're not,
It just said online, it was very vague, just to have a letter if there were zoning in your area from
Right.
your town board saying that.
so just a general letter that the planning board has considered the move and that
Mhm.
we've approved it for that use or
Well,
something.
we have a form that we use for the decision, just stating that was the
If
application.
he needs anything else, I do it all the time
Okay.
for, repair shops, whatever.
Okay.
It's okay, cause when you got zoning in your town, they wanna know if it's got allowed use,
Mhm.
which obviously here in this.
So they need something from you?
They might, but
Okay.
we'll shoot with that, if not, you need a letter, just get ahold of me,
Okay,
I'll put it on the letterhead.
alright, sounds great, thank you.
Alright,
Good
Have a
luck.
good night.
As far as the 20-foot setbacks, that's commercial, is what that's for, commercial structures, not the residential end of it, so. There is a 20-foot, but it's for commercial business.
For Sam's.
What's that? He's not commercial.
You're talking in the fire code.
Fire code, yeah, so say if you got, in a city, you've got a hairdresser, and you got a car repair shop, building's gonna go next to one another, you gotta build that, a firewall of some sort, where they gotta be 20 foot apart.
Right, building setback, not property line setback.
Right, correct.
So if one property's 5 and the other one, the building's 15, you meet the 20.
Right,
You
exactly. But
don't
it doesn't,
necessarily have to be 20 from each property
right, but
line.
in the residential, it doesn't pertain, it's in the commercial. Town of Mexico, you can go 5 foot up to the property line,
In the whole town,
on the lake shore.
on the lake shore.
You know, they wrote that zoning separately because they're small lots, they're tiny.
Mhm.
And it kept people from having to get variances for everything they did. And that's getting changed, like Panther Lake is getting changed down to 5 foot in that municipality. So, you have every right to look at it and reduce that. It's cause they're small lots, I mean, it's,
Somewhere working on it.
there's places down right on the line, if not over the line.
Okay, let's moving on. Application for Samuel. Okay, we did that.
First, I think we had, we kinda rushed through it last time to get wrapped up. Actually, it's get better if I read the minutes.
I'm right here now, hear it. Now I do hear it. Look what you did to me. It's the mice.
Is that you squeaking your chair? Y'all don't hear that? I'm going crazy.
Knock it off.
It's very annoying. Is it you, Dan? I didn't
What's that?
see you sitting back there.
Somebody's squeaking. Oh, yeah, that's, yeah.
It's Dan.
Sorry.
Your chair that's squeaking?
Get under
I
that stand.
I keep hearing it, I'm like,
Is there a
where's it
mouse in
coming
here?
from?
It's driving Missy crazy here in the squeaking.
As long as you don't take out a gun to shoot me.
I'll carry one more.
Okay. So on this one, we've already done the, seeker. Declared it as type 2. But we did do a, basis for consideration.
Yeah, I think that was what we had said that we would do nine, public basis of consideration. With lead agency, type two, accept it as complete for the public hearing. Maybe we need a refresher on what we're looking at before we start talking about this.
Anybody need a refresher on that?
Nope, I don't. I have all my stuff right now. All the neighbors seem to be good with it. We are looking at changing the, what we got in our
Yes.
laws.
Okay,
Yeah, so with,
what do we have for basis of consideration?
What is a typical basis when somebody's taking a house down and putting one up? Is there a, I'm new enough to this that I don't know what the standard, I know somebody wants to build a new
I
home.
think one of the basis of consideration should be that,
It's
that the property lines,
similar.
what he's doing is consistent with,
Right.
with the properties. in
Consistent with
that
the
area.
neighborhood or something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
this has, it's kind of divided up a little bit, but there's some ideas for stuff in there. Does anyone else need any of this? Sue, do you want? No.
So compatibility, the size and location of the structure is compatible with other structures in the immediate area. There are other businesses, a joint house not a business, so.
Yeah, no business. Yeah, these are, I mean, they're kind of split up in different sections of,
Mhm.
Looks like, I mean, if these are examples of basis of consideration, there will be no significant environmental impact, I would say that's true. The property is not in a wetland, true, the proposed subject
oh,
project.
you gotta slow down though, cause I gotta write these down. Okay, so no significant environmental impact,
Right.
okay.
It's not in a wetland. It's not within 100 feet of a wetland.
And I don't remember, cause when we went over, was that all determined on the short assessment plan
Right.
for the wetlands? You probably know, don't you?
Presumed nominal impact on quality of life. Under lot size, adjoining lots are of similar depth, that kind of goes along with what you were saying.
Yeah.
So I have the short assessment right
That covers the wetland stuff, right?
here. Yeah, the project site not located in 100-year floodplain. Doesn't have any species of animal listed by the state or federal government as threatened or endangered. Will not create stormwater discharge. Substantial increase in traffic.
So, under setbacks, it lists the setback from the eastern property line is no more than 50% variance. That's not true here. But then the very next line, it says the setback from the eastern property line is more than 50% variance, which is true. So I guess whether it's more or less, both are bases for consideration. So this one's gonna be the setback from the easterly property line is more than 50% variance, which is listed in here as a basis.
So setback from the east,
Eastern property line
more than,
is more than a 50% variance. The next one says neighboring houses are closer to the lake than the proposed structure. And I think from our map, that's true. So that would.
say that again.
Neighboring houses are closer to the lake than the proposed structure, so that's kind of indicating that what is being proposed, again, falls into the character of the neighborhood, but it's specifically listed here, so. Actually, the rest of these all, how many of these do we wanna know? So the setback variance from the lake is
Is
the
there
left.
gotta be anything that you guys are really taking into consideration with making your decision?
That's from Shannon.
Right, so I'll add one more, the last one that I'm gonna add. So on Sam's request here, it says I'm requesting a reduction to 50 feet from the building to Lake Ontario, to offer my current structure is located closer than the proposed structure to the lake. So that's saying that his current structure is closer than what he's proposing. And then one of the bases in here is the setback variance from the lake. The reduced distance from the lake allows space for off-street parking on the roadside, which would be true in this case, I believe, so. There's a fair amount of basis, I guess, is the moral of the story, right?
Now, is that something we want listed under the basic consideration though? I mean, is this something that's impacting the decision that you're making, the off-street parking?
Well, it's listed in our cheat sheet for what are examples of basis for consideration. So, I don't know who wrote this, I assume our attorney did.
You know what, I don't remember where for sure I got it from, but,
It says it is important to document the criteria used in making a decision, so
so the
these
big,
are.
right, so the basis of consideration, they usually, anything that you guys are, any criteria that you guys are using to make your decision, you know, this way it kind of covers that you've, you know, considered things that are important for the decision and where, in comparison to another application that it may be, you know, situational.
I think the biggest one is that this is typical of the lake frontage properties, and in particular, the setback requirements being requested are in line with the neighborhood surrounding this area. Those are probably the two strongest arguments, right?
Did I put that one on there? The view of the lake, that's usually an important one for the,
I don't think there's any
yeah.
obstruction there.
Yeah, I think there was something in the original application that said that the view is gonna be improved for the neighbors.
Right, because the
Right,
little
is
house
that
would be
right,
gone.
Sam?
Yeah, since the house is moving away, it kind of opens up a little bit for the neighbor on the west side.
Yeah, so that's an improvement over the current then.
Yeah.
And the way he's situated, it just gives him a lack of use of his boat ramp.
Say that again.
The variance request in general. In addition to the reasons above, the planning board can consider my variance requests, given the arrangements of my neighbors and the lack of use of my boat ramp. So, he believes it will strict enforcement would create undue hardship.
So you don't have use of your boat ramp now the way it is?
No, I wouldn't if I had moved the house to a different place.
Okay, alright.
It'd be blocked.
Yeah, so that was when we talked about if we could move it over to get it further away from the property line.
So, do you want to see you have this one? Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, it's not in your messy upside down file,
Oh, I've sorted it all out already, it's just not in numeric order anymore.
so. I think that's.
You're on public water, right?
Yep.
Public water,
City water.
you've got public water and existing sewer.
Mhm.
We tying into.
Yep.
Alright.
Specific one.
Any other questions? All right.
Get anything?
Well, we talked about the, Sam brought up a lot of the variance requirements and sections in our bylaws. So after reading those and after the attorney read those, that's where we come up with the conclusion that we can go within certain distance of the property line if it's within that neighborhood.
You're saying we can do what's being requested in this
Yes.
case?
Yes, maybe, we should add that in the basis of consideration, I don't know how you wanna word it though.
It's in compliance with current regulations or something?
Yeah,
Or it's within?
sections.
Yep.
I can give you the sections too.
According to our law.
The two that we have on the, we didn't put in compliance with the current site plan.
Yeah, do you want me to give you the section numbers?
I didn't even give them.
I mean, unless you want it in there.
We're gonna be discussing those sections too later on in here, so.
Big decision, Mike.
Okay, well, we don't have a lawyer here, but I think we can, have a motion to accept or deny.
There'll be a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, there you go.
Okay. You wanna have a opinion on approving or denying?
You have anything?
You wanna try it out?
Nope, she said.
Make a motion to approve, as submitted.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Mike DeTullio?
Yes,
Melissa Wendy?
Yes.
Alan Chase?
Yes.
Susan Chesky?
Yes.
okay, the application has been approved.
Awesome. We'll get decision out to you also.
Thank you very much, I appreciate your consideration.
You're more than welcome to stick around if you want. Or you can leave.
Thanks again.
No pressure.
Okay, at the last meeting, we talked about the, site plan review. And we had,
Oh, you know what, before we do that,
want to do the tree?
just wanna go back to reports real quick. So last night, the board did, accept your guys' recommendation for Karen as chair, so That's all good.
I'm hard of
Here,
hearing.
here is the choice, here didn't need recommendation.
Did he change any zones down there? I didn't think so.
And also, I sent you guys an email about the, annual training. Did everyone receive that?
Yes.
Was anyone else interested in attending
November they changed.
the training?
I gotta take time off of work to do it.
Yeah, you should be okay right now. Was it 4 hours a year, you guys?
And I did it at my normal job.
That doesn't count.
Does it count?
It should, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
so I can't remember, I know I've got the paperwork here, but I don't know where I stuck it. It's in one of these folders. This one, with my birthday, right on top.
What's the date that you said?
The date of the training, it's May, is it first and the second?
May 1 and 2?
Yeah, Wednesday, May first, Thursday, May second. So you don't have to let me know right now, but I mean, I sent you guys the packet, so it tells like when it's due and stuff,
I'm gonna be in Massachusetts.
yeah.
Is that
But if
something we can
anyone's-
do on our own time online or something, or do they have to attend?
They don't offer this online unless they've changed it. I know last year they were not offering it online.
There's a lot of other ones that they offer.
Yeah, but
online.
there is stuff available online.
As long as you can get your,
And this training this year doesn't have as much specific to like
Planning board.
planning, yeah. So, and if you guys can't make it, I don't, it's not like, last year, I think they had quite a bit of topics that were more specific. Okay, so just let me know if you decide if anyone wants to go. And I think that's all I have for reports. Other than, well, the tree fund we've got.
yeah, let's do the,
trees.
let's go to the tree fund, fund order.
Oh, no.
And again, we'll keep it 3 minutes.
What do you need for a motion?
For a few minutes, so you can get the tiger now. Well,
He only gets 3 minutes.
so I just need you guys to tell me what we're gonna do, and I meant to check today to make sure nothing else was sold out, and I did not have time to do that.
Can you give us one option?
What's up?
Can you give us one option?
No, I gave you 2 options. And you guys gotta decide which one you wanna do. So, we'll just recap. So, option number 1 would be we purchase 2 bundles of the red oak trees and 1 bundle of the black walnut. If we go this way, 26 people get their first choice, 16 people get their second choice, and 2 people get their third choice. 1 person would not receive any of their choices, but we can reach out and see if she wants to wait until there's trees available, or if she wants to wait. Change.
How many of those people wanted the dogwood?
Well, I don't have the exact number because we kind of, I don't think I brought the spreadsheet with me.
You let me know when you have a number,
Well, are you talking about for first choice or for second choice?
for whatever, cause I'm just gonna order a bunch, so.
Well, that's option 2, would be, we order 1 bundle of the red oak, and then the dogwood bundle, either you had talked about, donating, and the community fund money, we discussed that it did say in there, we order from the DEC, so I'm not sure that we should go outside the DEC for the order. If we do it that way, the 1 red oak and if Melissa or somebody bought the dogwood, 37 people would get their first choice of trees, 6 would get their second choice. 2 people would not get, anything because they didn't choose any of those. And again, we could reach out and see if they wanna change their order or if they wanna wait. So option 1 would leave us with a total of 31 extra trees that we would have to disperse somehow, which you guys would decide what to do with them. Option 2 leaves us with just 7 extra trees. And an additional option to option number 2 would be that we also order a bundle of black walnut to get those last 2 people their first choice. but then we'd have another 23 trees to disperse.
Wasn't there far more funding available than what we're actually gonna spend?
Yes,
Did I read there was like $1,200, we're gonna spend like 300?
there's, 12, was it $1,200? Is that what?
Something like that, I read something.
Yeah, there's
Like, we're
an
not, we're
amount
using
that
a
we have,
fraction of
but,
funding on this, right?
yes,
Right.
because
Well, we-
the way that they had decided is rather than using all the money and buying a bunch of trees, and then nobody wanting them, and all the trees go to waste, that we would let people order what they want.
Right.
So it's supposed to be, the way that they had calculated would be that every landowner would get 1 tree per parcel.
Right.
That's where the
And
number
that's where the
came from.
dollars came from.
So the first round that we did when we send the order out is any landowner in the town could order 1 tree per parcel.
Right.
That gives everyone a chance to get 1 tree, which is the way it was intended. Of course, we've got 40-something orders out of the whole town, so,
So is there any problem in us buying option A and B and having 100 extra trees, and we'll put a thing on the website or something that says there's some free trees here
well,
till they're gone?
that's kind of what you guys had decided that you didn't wanna do before, so that the trees wouldn't go to waste. We didn't want the money or the trees to go to waste.
I'll bet once
So-
they show up here, people are gonna, when somebody comes to get their trees, you say, oh, we've got 20 extras of these, you want some more?
Well, but we can't do it that way, because the way it was figured is that it's 1 tree per parcel.
Well,
So
there's
if
people
you-
putting more than 1 tree, getting more than 1 tree, isn't there?
No,
If they have more than 1 parcel.
yeah, only if they own more than 1 parcel.
So
Cause
what
it's
are we
1
gonna
tree
do-
per
so what are we
parcel
gonna
that
do
you
with
own.
these
So
extra
if you,
trees that
so if
nobody
you
can-
own 3 parcels, you can get 3 trees.
This should not be that complicated.
I know.
There has
It's-
got to be a way
And it's
that we
only,
can put
it's
this to bed.
4-inch spare root stock.
If you go to option 2, okay,
Mhm.
we're talking about 23 trees of black walnut that need to be dispensed somehow.
Mhm.
And you're telling me they cannot go to somebody that already got one?
Right.
Well, I guess that would be up to you guys to decide also, because, we didn't get, I think we did pretty good getting 40-something orders in, but when you look at the total amount of residents in the town, that's not a large number. Whether it's word didn't get out there enough, or there just wasn't interest, I don't know.
I think if you have extra trees and you get the word out there, I think people would show an interest, because not everybody gets on the website and looks,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, we had signs up, I don't remember where they put them up, but they put
Hand
up
them out
flyers.
as the kids are getting on the bus, go home and plant a tree.
They actually do that at the school already for Arbor Day, they give all the kids a tree.
Little pine trees.
So what do
Unfortunately,
you
a
want for
lot probably
motion?
don't
What
get
can we-
planted.
What do you want us
You-
to say?
I don't know that we necessarily have to make a motion on this, but I need you guys to,
Tell you which way to go.
the planning board's supposed to make this decision, so it's up to you guys to
I
tell
say we
me.
buy option A and B, we make everybody happy, we have some extra trees, and we figure out how to get rid of them.
Well, we're not gonna do both, because that's,
Well, I mean, the combined, that if you have to get an extra bundle so that everybody gets their first choice,
we
or
have
whatever,
the
your
money to
option
get
so
it.
you're
three.
talking about option 2. Well,
I would
option
say
2 with
option
order the
two.
black walnut also.
Right,
Gives you
just-
1 oak, 1 dogwood, if,
Well, that would be,
And-
we would order the red oak and the black walnut,
right,
and Melissa would be donating the bundle of dogwood. And then everybody gets either their first or second choice, the majority are getting their first choice. Is that what you guys wanna do, are you all
what
in
do you say,
agreement on
Melissa?
that?
Yes.
I'm good with that. I'm just gonna get a bundle of 50 to start with, and people will get one of those and one of the other ones. Just think, get whatever they want.
Okay, so if they have the red oak and the black walnut available still, that's what I'll be putting out notice for.
And once you let me know the day that yours are coming, I'll order to have ours, the other ones come the same day.
If you look back at that packet that they, well, there was a packet somewhere from the DEC, because when you order from them, they have a date. Actually, that's the other thing, because you can order to have it shipped, like an
Any
actual
specific time.
company delivered, but they're not responsible for the tree show up. Somebody can go and, that there was an option that they can deliver to like a more local, like ours would probably
Where
be
did it have to be
Syracuse.
picked up? Oh, Syracuse.
Well, it's a different DEC office, but I couldn't find out specifically, but I'm assuming ours would be Syracuse, that they would probably ship to, and then someone could pick up there. Obviously, if you have them ship, their shipping fees, which I don't think we have to worry about, because we're gonna have more money for quite a
So-
while on this than what we're spending, so.
We're in DEC Region 7 and the office is in Cortland.
It's Cortland,
Yeah, so you're probably going to Cortland. There is an office in Syracuse, but it's in an office building. It's not
okay,
a-
so probably not where United Street trees. Yeah, so probably the best spot's probably just to have them shipped and, I mean,
You know,
just hope that
I
they.
am retired, I can actually run to Cortland.
That
I
part
just-
would be up to you.
I would just need to know- I would
I
need to
certainly
know what
wouldn't
day.
expect anyone to have to go drive and get them, and I don't know for certain where the pickup would be. But there is a date though, they set a date.
Well, I would hate to see the trees get sit on
Yeah.
on the back end of some truck for for a week
Yeah,
and without being watered, you know?
It'd be a waste of money.
yeah, I would think that the DEC shipping them, they probably, you know, take all kinds of precautions. And
Right.
obviously, they're not responsible for what happens when it leaves them.
But aren't they using a third party?
Yes,
Right.
right.
Yeah, they're shipping these things every day, though, they gotta be packaged somehow that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, I'm sure however they
Okay.
package them, you know, and they probably label them, you know, fragile or whatever, like live,
Foliage,
To
foliage.
come Amazon.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure they have a procedure for shipping, but they do not take
Amazon, they're gonna
responsibility.
drop them by a drone or what?
You never know.
Yeah.
From like
Right.
doors they drive by.
Okay, so we're gonna go with option 2.
Okay, so we put the black one mark
Yep.
for me. Alright, so we got site plan review.
Some of the setbacks that we had.
Did you give me that? I want to steal it from you.
No, you can do that. I asked for copies, just in case anyone needed.
Do you know?
I do.
I have it out there somewhere.
I found it because. Good. Somewhere.
Alright.
Okay, we talked about some of the variances of some of the other townships in the area. And we needed to know a little bit more information, I think that's what it was.
What section are we talking about? 5 point,
We're talking about
6.
4.4
44.
okay.
and then 5.69.
You're not doing one at a time, or?
Yeah.
And this is to discuss proposed changes to them. Alright. All for today? Was that it? I didn't see that.
Little slacker pants. Almost there. I was getting excited there for a second. Yeah, you can share mine.
Alright, I'll keep digging, it's in this stack.
Are you looking for, what we're redoing?
Yeah.
You got another one right there again? You were very efficient. Good for a job.
I've got 3 already.
Oh.
I know, right?
build. We got discussion?
Sure.
So, I don't know if everybody got a chance to review my long-winded email. I sent it to Karen for review, but, I had probably an hour-long conversation with the DEC about this subject. And what, I gotta refresh my memory to this, but basically, in a nutshell, the DEC reviews any construction, whether it be excavation or building a building, on several different, state regulations. One of them being shoreline erosion, and they have maps made in the 80s that show erosion zones along the lake shore, and you cannot build within an erosion zone without a permit from the DEC. And on some town roads that are within our jurisdiction, there is no erosion zone. And in other areas, there is a pretty significant erosion zone that extends beyond 100 feet. So what I found is, regardless of what we say, it's going to be a case-specific, from the DEC's perspective, it's gonna be a case-specific application based on the area where they are. And in talking with the permit bureau from the DEC, when an application comes into them for a construction within an erosion area, they send a representative out to look at the property, compare it to the maps, and make a determination of where the erosion zone ends, because it's not 100 feet or 50 feet or 25 feet. It's a varying thing based on what the topography of that area is. So the only place that we really would have jurisdiction, I think, is when the DEC says that there's no erosion zone in that area. If we wanted to do something more than that, we could say, well, there is, it's 25 feet or it's 50 feet or something like that. But for us to say that you can't build within 50 feet of the lake in an erosion zone that's 200 feet from the lake, one, it's contradictory to the state, and I think it's confusing to residents, because they're gonna read our law and go, oh, I can do this, and then they're gonna run into a block wall with the DEC. So I think we should be mirroring the DEC's language and referencing the erosion zone language of the DEC, kind of notifying people that they need to go to the DEC for permission to build within lakeshore proximity. And then if we want to, we could go above and beyond that and say, if the DEC doesn't have any restrictions, then we impose the restriction of X. But like what you had said last month, that made sense, is why would anybody wanna build closer to the lake than 50 feet or 25 feet? After talking with the DEC, if they've come out and determined that this is a zero erosion, you're building on a rock that's never gonna erode, then what's our basis for saying that they can't, I guess? I mean, I don't know if it's a good idea to build, 2 feet from the water line, but if I guess I have to wonder,
Well,
what's our interest in limiting that if the DEC hasn't limited it?
maybe the opening statement in that, article would be, DEC requirements
Right, here's,
supersede,
right,
they come first.
yep. And I think just a 3-sentence paraphrase, the DEC has erosion control zones that require a DEC permit to work within, and if you are within an erosion control zone, you will need to seek a permit from the DEC, right? There's the disclaimer that, hey, we're not the governing authority if you're in an erosion zone.
Okay.
And then we could talk, if you are not in an erosion zone, which it varies dramatically. I mean, right where I live, it goes from, looks like there's a 150-foot erosion to 0, and knowing the shoreline, it's following the rock cliffs or a 0, and when it's real low and kind of goes up at a short angle, it comes way inland and so on. So I could work on some language that kind of describes that. I guess the part that I would need some guidance on is how do we wanna treat if there is zero erosion zone from the DEC? Do we say that there's gonna be a minimum of a 50-foot erosion and you can get a variance of up to 50 feet? Or do we, I guess, what's the basis for that? If it's not, well, you gotta stay 50 feet away because the shore's gonna erode and your house is gonna fall in the lake. We certainly aren't the authority on that, so maybe there is a reason, I don't know what it is, other than it doesn't seem like it makes common sense, but, is there a true environmental justification for us to say you can't do this? That would be my question, I guess. So, but,
That's why
We
we
have
have
an
an
answer to that, or
Yeah.
something more for Rebecca, or?
yeah. Well, I can come back next month with some language, suggested language. But in my mind, if the DEC already addresses this, and it's kind of crazy to me, because it sounds like a lot of towns put their own thing to it, but I think that there are just too many rules that are contradictory, this agency says you gotta do this, and that agency says you gotta do that, and the left hand's not talking to the right hand. I mean, I think we ought to be mirrored to what the state regs are, and those guys are the professionals. And if we write that part of it like that, the other part of this talks about class 1, class 2, and class 3 wetlands. And our current regulations say that you can't build within 100 feet of a class 1 and 50 feet of a class 2 or 3. The DEC says you need a permit from the DEC to build within 100 feet of a class 1, 2, or 3. So why are we differentiating and saying, well, if it's a class 1 wetland, you gotta be 100 feet away, but a class 2 and 3 you only have to be 50, when the DEC's saying you have to be 100
feet
on.
for everything.
Right, which I come back to the same thing, how do you know where the wetland is? You call the DEC and they send a representative out and they will put flags up and say, this is the perimeter of the wetland, and that changes, so that's something that becomes fluid, and they determine it not by maps, but by the type of vegetation that's growing in the area, or the type of wildlife that's living in the area. So if they come out and see that the green-eared tree frog is habitating here or something, whatever, or there's milkweed growing or something. So same thing, I think on that, we should just describe that there's a wetland map and that the DEC requires you to not build within 100 feet of a wetland, any class wetland, without a permit from the DEC, and we kind of direct them in that direction. And then when they come to us, we look at it and say, well, have you been to the DEC? Have you got a permit from them? And if you do, then you're good by us.
The only thing I see on that is, I've noticed places along the lake where a stream comes down and goes into the lake. At that point, it's feeding into the lake, it's not gonna flood. But yeah, maybe, it may spread a little bit on heavy rains, but it's definitely not gonna flood because
Right, because it's dumping.
it's dumping down.
Well, and when you look at the erosion maps, there are a lot of camps in the erosion zone, that have been there for years.
Yeah.
And the DEC deals with those on a case by, if you wanna tear your camp down and build a new one, then you got the grandfather clauses, and I just don't know that with them having, they have full-time people that deal with this, why would we, I don't know, I think they're the experts, I think we ought to just kinda.
I can see for some reasons us being more restrictive than the DEC as far as, they're looking at across the state, what their general opinion is of everything, where, each town could be a little bit more strict about, DEC says you can be,
Right.
this close, but we think you should be this close.
It should be whatever.
I definitely think we shouldn't be less restrictive, because that would definitely be confusing, like you said. For them to look at it and say, oh, we say it's okay, but then DC says, no, that's not okay. So I can see us being more restrictive, and I don't know a comparison on everything, what theirs
That's
looks
it,
like, but.
well, it's like, so the DEC has no restriction in a non-erosion zone. That I can see where we would say, well, we
Yeah,
think there should be
that is
some,
something, yeah.
right, 50 feet, 25 feet, whatever. My thing is just, we ought to have, it's like with everything else, we need to have basis for it. What is the basis for that? You know, the obvious basis is erosion. Well, if the DEC says it's not, that kinda takes that basis away. So is the basis aesthetic? Is the basis pollution? Is the basis, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure what, you know, I think it's okay for us to do
When we're
that.
talking
I
about
just
lake
don't know.
properties, I think there's a lot of reasons why, you know, I mean, obviously, it would be crazy to build right on the water anyways. You know, there's gotta be some kind of setback, but, I mean, blocking others' view, I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons overall why, I mean, it's hard to set like a number for stuff like that, because, I mean, you could be the only one, I mean, look at down like Pleasant Point, they own that whole area there, and, you know, I mean, if it's
My
all
case, I have
theirs.
I have a
they're-
subterranean boathouse,
Right,
so it's not a blocking view issue, and it's hard to build a boathouse, it's not
yeah, cause the boathouse
on the
is
water
either,
edge,
right?
right? I mean, so you know, there's so many scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely
But
different
it was
scenarios on
grandfathered
this.
They're not gonna be able
Grandfathered
to do
in,
that.
right, right.
Yeah, all this stuff being grandfathered in is totally different, but, I don't know, there's definitely a lot that could be like case by case, and I think that's kind of where the idea of us allowing, you know, the variances come in is.
Do you guys generally agree that we ought to mirror the DEC regs, and then if we wanna be more
Well, yeah, I mean,
restrictive
if I
than
was
that?
someone who was looking for a variance to build a camp on the lake, and I come in here and we, you know, the board approved it, and then I find out that the DEC says, oh, you can't do that, I'd be a little upset, you know?
I think
Well,
you
and
said.
there's times usually, you know, if there's something we're not sure of, you know, they've accepted, and part of the conditions is you need to get DEC approval, so. Usually we try to at least let people know, like, we're okay with it, but DEC has to be, and there's some conditions that, they have to have the approval before we can move forward, so.
I would like to know what the definition of a type 2 and a type 3 wetland is.
Yeah.
What that definition is. Because if, you know, if it's too restrictive, is it really
Well,
gonna
and
help us?
Yeah, it's all mapped.
Right.
The DEC's got it wet, it's, you know, you can go to their website, and I had a conversation about the difference in types, and it was long ago, this was almost 2 months ago when I talked to him now, and I don't wanna say, I believe it was the type of vegetation and so on, but I can come back next month with that answer.
Yeah, cause I imagine they probably got something written out somewhere
I'm sure,
defining.
yeah.
There were 4 different situations where their regulations had something to do with this. One was erosion, one was wetland, and I can't remember what the other 2 were called. I've got it in my long-winded email, but I didn't brief myself on it before we came here tonight, but, but those were the 4 situations that they would have some bearing on this, so. I don't know how much of this we wanna get through tonight, but I would come back next week, or next month with some proposed language that mirrors the DEC just very generally, and then leaves the opportunities for us to add in something more restrictive where we would like. And I think that would cover, it's gonna cover A, 1 and 2. And it doesn't have anything to do with the lights shall be placed on a premises in such a
No,
manner.
that's a
Yeah, I
weird
don't think
spot
there's
for
much
that.
to change with that, right?
It's way too
I
much.
think that's a start, is what we can do is, you get some more information. We probably should have our lawyer present when we
Yep, make a
sit down and
decision
start
on
talking
that.
about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll come
Yeah,
back.
if anyone else
next
has any
month
more
with some
research on the
language.
DEC, he's probably gonna come in with a book from the DEC with all the rules and
I'm gonna try to-
regulations and definitions.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in just real plain language, but I'll send an email out with the guy's name from the DEC so all of this stuff goes to their permits department, and the guy's name's Kevin, I talk to him pretty frequently, I can't think of his last name. But anytime something like this comes forward, it goes to his office, and then he kinda takes it to whatever division has jurisdiction over it, so he's kind of the pseudo expert on all stuff where people need permits. So that's nice that there's at
Yeah.
least one, you know, there's kind of one answer to this stuff for this region. So, and I'll share his info so that you guys can call and get it right from the horse's mouth as well, if anybody cares to.
Okay.
But
All right, what do we wanna do on this, on the section, 4.4? Do we wanna do 5.69 too? And then have a conversation about it, and then we can table it till next month,
it's only 7.
okay? So let's go to, section, 5.69.
What was our thought here? We wanted to divide this and identify lakefront properties separate from the rest, and right now it's lumped all as one. Is that kind of our goal?
Yeah,
But this
Yeah, so
also
the lake
says
properties
excluding
are so much
subdivisions,
smaller, they
so
don't
they're
have-
different already.
Right.
room to
Do we
much.
wanna, so do we just leave this section as it stands and we add a section, or do we make a paragraph A and a paragraph B, and paragraph A applies to the town as a whole, and paragraph B applies to lakefront properties,
We can do it that way.
right? Cause I don't know that we're necessarily trying to change it town-wide, right? Can we do that? There's a question for the attorney. Can you treat a property not on the lake differently than you can treat a property
Well,
on the
other,
lake?
other townships are doing it now.
Are they?
Yeah.
That one's already different right there.
Excluding subdivisions, right, so that's,
So they're different than everybody else already.
so if, maybe if we come back with a paragraph A that says, unless otherwise identified here, this applies. And then paragraph B would say, all properties along, the Lake Ontario waterfront. Now, so there's, be the first question, well, what if my property's on the other side of the road? Does that apply or does that not apply? Cause you got a lot of those lots that have,
they're sectioned though, aren't they? They're not one parcel.
sometimes there's different, there are different parcels
Right,
often.
that's what I
And
thought.
sometimes there are even different owners. I think, I don't know what's down where you live, but
Yeah.
sometimes there's a house on the other side of the road
Mm-hmm.
and both of them are, one's lakefront, one's lakeview.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both postage size lots.
Right,
So are we, how do we define what we're talking about first, I guess, right? It's, if we talk about the character of the neighborhood, I'm thinking
You would
like
hate to put some
Sunset
kind
Bay.
of, footage in there. Let's say if you're within, most of them lots where I am, they are probably 150 foot deep.
Right.
So if you were to say, well, if you're within 200 feet of it, you're considered lakefront property, I don't know. I don't know if we could do that.
Right. How to define it. Is it Sunset Bay that has 2 roads that run parallel with the,
I don't know, I think
or
one,
Sunset Drive, I think
I
it
think
is?
you one goes in one way and one goes the other.
Right, but there's houses on both,
Yes.
right? I haven't looked at the lot sizes down there, but I'm sure that it's the same, everybody's trying to cram as many in view of the lake as you can, so. But maybe that's a good way of saying it, is within so many feet, it's considered lakefront for this purpose or something.
Right.
So that's probably how we'd have to first define it. And then we're talking about not less than 50 feet from the edge of a private or public road. That's a tough one down there.
mm-hmm,
I don't know what's reasonable or what.
Well, if it says 50 feet, I look at it this way, if we give them half of that brings it down to 25 feet. Most vehicles are what, 18, 20 feet long? Okay, some trucks are bigger than that. So at least that gives you a driveway
right.
off a private road.
Mhm.
I wouldn't go any less than 25 feet. But I know places down on the lake already that,
So, and then are we saying that 25 feet, in order to go less than 25 feet, you need a variance? or you're saying that that's a hard stop at 25 feet?
It's,
My garage
that's
is
a tough
5 feet.
one, I don't know, you know,
My garage is 5 feet from the road and I park on the other side. The other thing that in my particular case, being a dirt road, what's happened is over the years, the road has migrated away from the lake. So what the roadway is on a survey map and what the roadway is in actuality are two different things. And how do you, right, I mean, we gotta go by a survey.
Mhm.
We can't go by, well, you know,
Yeah.
really I can park there, cause in my case, I'm 5 feet from the road, but I can park a vehicle in front of it because the road has migrated away from the lake. It's really, the road is really on my property across the street. So, and that's how everybody on that road is.
Yeah.
But I would think if we reduced it to 25 feet, that in some cases, that would meet, you know, people could do it without a variance. And then if you put it, you know, that you gotta come before us and justify why it's okay, cause the neighbor on both sides is that way,
yeah,
and because,
stains or whatever and all that crap. you know.
right,
Yeah.
you know, but that makes it at least more reasonable to what most places are down there probably, if we went to 25. And then the side setbacks. I don't know, 5 feet's awful close, but there is a lot of them that are that way. You know, you could go
Yeah.
10, you know, we could call it 10 or you need a variance. Same deal, so now, it's kind of, it was kind of a no-brainer that if somebody came and wanted a 10-foot variance, we get, I don't know that this, I haven't been around long enough to know, but the impression I get is that that's always been approved, right? So if we made it 10 now and you don't need a variance, then for some number of people, they could just do it without a variance. If they wanna be less than 10, like in Sam's case, well, then you gotta come in and give your justification and all that. So, that would be my, you know, if we just amended the numbers and made it 25 feet from the road and 10 feet from a side property line, and in both cases, if you want less than that, then
Got the,
then come to the board and we'll go through the process. But that at least allows some people not to have to come here, because right now, I think if you do anything on the lake, you're coming for.
pretty much.
What do you ladies think?
That's fair.
And I think that's why it'd be helpful having your information from DC and having Rebecca's input on
Right.
If she's
a
here,
lot of
yeah.
this, yeah.
I'll
Okay.
propose a language so we don't have to
Members.
sit and try to write it while she's here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll leave it, you know, maybe a couple of different versions, one kind of being conservative and one being a little more liberal, and then we can consider a couple of different options, and if she says they're all good, then we can just decide which one
Okay,
we like
so
the
what we're
best.
gonna do then is we'll table.
Yeah.
Table both these, articles.
Yep.
Till next meeting. Okay,
Alright, save that.
Oh, you got some homework to do this.
okay. The new business was the planning board annual organization and bylaws. And without, Rebecca here, I don't know if we can do that.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
no?
think, I mean, it's already all approved and everything, so it's basically just every year, you guys gotta look it over, see if there's anything that, you know, cause things change over time. So I don't, did everyone look over the bylaws? Does anyone think of anything that you'd recommend changing in the bylaws? And basically, I mean, if you guys are okay with it, then someone just does a motion to accept as is
We'll
and.
take a quick minute and take a
You
look
know,
at it.
just give us a
Go
minute,
through
just to
real
kind of
quick.
overview real quick. I did that, but.
I've done that before.
Wouldn't hurt, probably. Right in there.
Okay, so where we go from here?
Um,
we need to
if
approve
everyone's good with it, then someone just makes a motion to accept the bylaws
Do we
as
need
is,
to,
or,
do we need to sign this or anything?
um,
Sign and date it? See on the back.
normally you don't, but I did do that last year, just so that we
I have a
had
question.
most recent up to date, yes.
Section 1.5 in proceedings, should we add in there somewhere, public hearings, if any? It's the only thing I don't see on there.
No, cause that's, any regular meeting of the planning board.
All public hearing is considered a special meeting, well,
That's why I wrote, if
it's
any.
conducted at a regular meeting, but it is its
Mm-hmm.
own. You're opening a public meeting or public hearing and closing a
Well,
public
it
hearing.
does have the privilege of the floor as optional.
Do we file it under that?
What's that,
Privilege of the floor would be, like public comment.
public comments?
Top of page 3, I'm not strongly, for or against this, but basically this says that in the absence of the chairperson, the vice chair will take, control. What happens tonight if Mike wasn't here and we just had the rest of the members? Is it, if we were gonna make changes to this, maybe we put a number 2 in there, and we say in the absence of the chair and vice chair, the most senior member serving on the planning board, or
I
something,
feel like there may be
something somewhere else you're saying?
something maybe,
Again, I don't wanna delay this or whatever, if that's the only change that we're looking to make, then I'm fine with it the way it reads, but that's one thing that I could see tonight that could have, if it was Mike that fell ill instead of Cindy or something, then we might have been sitting here going, well, what do we do? Can we have a meeting? Who's in charge, right?
I can tell you
Secretary is
who's
in charge.
not.
So I vote for the secretary.
I mean, if you guys want, we can, table this again too, and we can look through and see if that is defined somewhere, or if we should add that.
I don't, it's not a huge deal. If we're comfortable to accept it as it is.
Let me ask a question. Hey, Dan, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Talking about the chairperson, okay?
Yep.
During the absence or disability or disqualifications of the chairperson, the vice chair shall exercise or perform all the responsibilities of the chairperson. How does the town handle that if,
In the event that they're both absent,
Yeah.
The board would, select someone to chair the meeting. There's no designated person based on seniority or anything like that,
okay,
just the remaining members that are available.
but it's not in writing, they just kinda do that?
Yeah, we have it in writing that
Do we?
that is the
So it's
standard.
kinda defined like.
Is that in like state law, town law, or is it a local thing that's?
I believe it's in the town law manual, and it's something we've also adopted.
Okay. So it wouldn't be out of line for us to maybe adopt something similar in this, right? You must have it in the town bylaws or something, or?
Yeah, there's a town law manual right there underneath where I sit, if you guys ever wanna reference it. It's all, most of it's right in there.
Does that stuff apply to us as well? So would we go to that or?
Yeah, that's what we operate out of, we operate out of the town law manual primarily.
Any
That's what
chance
we
you could-
reference, we don't reference the Roberts Rules of Order.
See,
reference
we
the town.
do.
Yeah,
We reference Robert's rules, and I'll bet it's contained in Robert's rules what you do when there's no chair. But, so.
yeah, you
Would
guys should be referencing the town law manual.
Okay.
All the municipal laws are right in there.
I just read somewhere that it had Robert's rules, so maybe we need to clean that up.
Yeah, you guys, I think the binders you have, don't you have, I think your binder should include any laws that pertain, like, to the planning board. Like, I know I gave you guys a copy of the solar law and, what else, there was something else recently that I gave you guys. Town board has a lot more laws that pertain to them than us.
So, do you wanna clean up that vice person? Chairperson, do we wanna clean that up a little bit, or we just,
Any chance you could point that out for, us for next month's meeting?
Yeah,
The language that you guys have in the town, and maybe we just adopt the same language. Just put it as a second line item and we'll have an attorney here to guide us on some of this as well.
Use of officers, so it wouldn't. This wouldn't really fall under that section because it would be an officer.
Duties of officers. Well, they would be a temporary officer for that meeting, because they'd be leading it, right? In essence. I don't know, I don't wanna make
I
this.
think it'd be a good-
I think how it's worded is they just, the board members elect a temporary chair for that night.
On the town board,
Yeah.
so.
Still the disqualification of the chairperson and vice.
Chair and vice, the members present will elect a,
well, if you go to look at, 2.3, page 2, number 6. So if you're not gonna
that
be here,
kinda speaks to that, doesn't it?
yeah,
Oh,
so,
yeah, there you go.
so-
Yeah, that kinda speaks to it. The chairperson shall be permitted to appoint a meeting facilitator. So I guess maybe we already have it
yeah,
covered, providing the chairperson does that.
But if the
Right.
chairperson's
so
not
if they know
there-
they're not gonna be here, they can.
I withdraw my concern.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, that should cover it.
all right, any other questions on it?
You want a motion to approve them as,
Yes, motion to accept.
I would say so.
So one of you making that motion?
motion to accept the, bylaws for the town planning board as presented.
Second,
I'll second it.
Micah Julian,
Yes,
Melissa Wendy,
yes.
Alan Chase,
Yes.
Sue Techie.
Yes.
Anyone have anything?
so if they need a signature or anything on this,
Yeah, I'll have to, print up a new one, cause that's the one from last year, so it's got Mike and Leslie and. Yeah, I just started doing that because when I was trying to find them last year, nothing was dated, and I was like, what is the most recent? It was like, there wasn't anything specific, so I'm like, I'm just gonna start putting a date on there and signing off on it, and then we know it's official. Alright, we wanna make a motion to adjourn?
oh, come on, everybody's gotta
I
speak.
was
don't
gonna
wanna
say,
adjourn
come on,
already.
really?
It's only 7:30.
I'll make a motion to adjourn for the evening.
All in favor?
Oh, we got a second first,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Overruled.
Okay,
Aye.
I've been up since 2 AM, I gotta set my little puppy.
Oh.